Welcome to another lesson with me, teacher Sherby. In this lesson, we are going to talk about how to add fraction to a mixed number or how to add a mixed number to a fraction. But before we do that, I want to review from our last lesson and I want to go over a couple of things with you. In the last lesson, we spoke about fraction plus a whole number. And we said, say, if you have 1/3 plus 2, this whole number, you can just turn it around because addition is commutative, meaning that no matter how you switch the order of it, it does not change the sum or the answer. So you can also switch it around. 2 plus 1/3 is the same thing as 2 and 1/3. 2 plus 1/3 is the same thing as 2 and 1/3. And here's the part of this lesson that I want to go over with you. Notice that your 2 is your whole number. Your 1 is your numerator, so I'm going to write N for numerator. And your 3 is your denominator. The numerator is always going to be on top, and your denominator is always going to be on the bottom. And whenever you have numbers where you have a whole number and you have a fraction, we call that mixed numbers because it's two different things going on. You have a whole number and you have a fraction. So that's why we would call that a mixed number. In the last lesson, we also spoke about two strategies where you can solve this. And you can see that if you do 1/3 plus, if you change the 2 into a fraction by setting your denominator as 1, it won't change the value of it. And this is because if you divide, let's say you do 2 divided by 1, we know that 1 times 2 is equal to 2. And when you subtract 2 minus 2, you're left with 0. So the answer is equal to 2. And that's why it's okay to set your denominator as 1. Here is something that I talk about a lot in my lessons, and that's this LCD. We know that the L stands for least, the C stands for common, and the D stands for denominator. LCD is the same thing as least common denominator, and you find that by taking your denominators, and in this case we have 3, we have 1, and we are going to find multiples of our denominators. You find multiples by adding the number to itself however amount of times. So we start at 3. 3 plus 3 is equal to 6. 6 plus 3 is equal to 9. 9 plus 3 is equal to 12. And we know that we added 3 one time to get to 3. We add 3 two times, and so on and so forth. Also, you can think of this as multiplication because 3 times 1 is equal to 3. 3 times 2 is equal to 6. 3 times 3 is equal to 9, and 3 times 4 is equal to 12. Now we're going to do the same thing with the 1. We know that 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. 2 plus 1 is equal to 3. Or you can think of it again as multiplication. 1 times 1 is equal to 1. 1 times 2 is equal to 2. 1 times 3 is equal to 3. And you can see that 3 is the least multiple that they share. So you set your denominator as 3 because that is now your new denominator. And you ask yourself, how many 1/3 or how many 3 or did I add to get to 3? We know that 3 times 1 is equal to 3, and the rule is whatever you do to your denominator, you do it to your numerator, and whatever you do to your numerator, you do it to your denominator. So 1/3 is the same thing as 1/3. Now you ask yourself, how many times did you add 1 to get to 3? We added it 3 times. So we're going to do 1 times 3, and then we're going to do 2 times 3. That's equal to 6. Remember, your sign is addition. And 6 plus 1 is equal to 7. 7/3 is the same thing as 2 and 1/3. And just in case you're asking, let's double check this. So let me just erase some stuff so that it is not too much going on my screen. Let's erase and let's go over this. 7/3, we can write it as a division problem. And the way you do that is you say 7 divided by 3. 3 times 2 is the closest we can get to 7 because 3 times 2 is 6, and the goal is to get as close to your dividend as possible. When we subtract that, that's equal to 1, and then we just rewrite it because the 2 on top is our whole number. Whatever is remaining, that is now our numerator, and you keep your denominator as 3. Do not change it. And if you rewrite it, you know that your whole number is 2, 1 is your numerator, and keep your denominator. Another way you can look at it, let's erase again, is you can take a magnifying glass and you can zoom in. We know that 7/3, when you zoom in, it's 1/3 added 7 times. So you have 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3, and you're going to continue to add that 7 times. Let's see, do we have 7? No, we need one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're adding 1/3 7 times. That's how you would get 7/3. And then you take your wholes. Here, if you add 1/3 3 times, that is 3/3, and 3/3 is the same thing as 1. So you have one whole, take another whole. 3/3 is the same thing as one whole, and then you put your wholes together, which is 2, and whatever is left over, you just bring it down next to your whole number. And there you have it. Now let's get into our lesson.